12 years after my husband left me, we met at a car showroom. He asked, "Are you a maid?" My answer was, Erica Collins, a woman of 43, had no children from her first marriage. Her second husband, a kind and caring man, never missed their monthly dates, no matter how busy he was. He always kept his promises. Though she knew she shouldn't compare him to her first husband, Erica had never regretted her divorce, nor her remarriage. This month marked their 8th wedding anniversary, and her husband had reserved a table at a fancy restaurant overlooking the ocean. Erica had anticipated a wonderful evening, but then she saw him, Nathan Spencer, her ex-husband from 13 years ago. The sight of him sent a chill down her spine. After finishing their meal, Erica's husband excused himself to use the restroom. As Erica gazed out the window, lost in thoughts of the beautiful moments she and her husband had shared by the sea, she heard someone call her name. Turning around, she saw Nathan. "Hey," he said, his voice laced with a mocking tone. "What's so beautiful? Do you think a regular ocean looks nice to someone like you who's basically broke?" "Nathan," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Long time no see." "Why are you here?" he asked, a smirk playing on his lips. "I should be asking you that." He sat down in the chair her husband had been using, his eyes scanning her as if she were a joke. Those eyes, the ones she had endured for a decade of their marriage, sent a wave of nausea through her. "I never thought I'd run into you here," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Can someone like you, who doesn't have much money, really eat at a fancy place like this? Can you even afford it, or is this a once-in-a-lifetime thing?" "It's our wedding anniversary," she added, her voice barely a whisper. "Ah, I see," Nathan sneered. "Poor people can only come to places like this on anniversaries, huh?" "I come here often, you know," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "You're still pathetic, aren't you? Isn't there someone with you?" he asked, his eyes scanning the room. "Yeah, there is," Erica replied, her voice tight. "I just sent her to pay. You know, handling money is a woman's job." The words stung. He was still the same, always belittling women. Then she saw her, his lover from 13 years ago. She had aged, her beauty dimmed, and her face bore the marks of a life lived in the shadow of Nathan's selfishness. He was living the good life while his wife suffered. "You're still wearing shabby clothes, aren't you?" Nathan said, his voice laced with disdain. "Aren't you embarrassed to dress so poorly?" Talking to him made Erica feel sick. She turned her eyes toward the restroom, hoping her husband would return soon. And there he was, standing at the entrance, watching them. He had been observing the entire exchange. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Do you need something for my wife?" "Your wife?" Nathan scoffed. "This woman is your wife?" "Yes," Erica's husband confirmed, his gaze unwavering. "What do you need?" "You also look poor," Nathan said, his voice dripping with venom. "I guess poor women always remarry poor men." "Please don't be rude," Erica's husband said, his voice laced with a hint of steel. "My husband is a very respectable man." Nathan snorted in disapproval, his eyes narrowed. "Imp," he sneered. "You must be just a useless, broke man then." He glared at Erica's husband, his face twisted with malice. This man hadn't changed at all. He was still the same selfish, arrogant person. He had always claimed to be an elite employee, but Erica had never believed him. He was good at sucking up to his boss, blaming his mistakes on his juniors and claiming their achievements as his own. How he managed to climb the corporate ladder was beyond her, but by the time they divorced, he had become a manager. "Your parents were too poor to send you to university, right?" Nathan said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "But it's good for you. You didn't have the brains for it anyway. If your family had been rich, you would have had to go to university, but it would have been impossible for someone as stupid as you." "My family wasn't poor," Erica said, her voice rising with anger. "I just wanted to start working sooner rather than going to college." "Ah, enough with the excuses," Nathan said, his voice cutting through her words. "You can't stop making excuses, can you? You're an incompetent woman after all. But it's good for women, isn't it? Even if they're incompetent or stupid, as long as they have good looks, they can get by. If they catch a competent man, they can live well." His words were a venomous cocktail of misogyny and arrogance. He had always looked down on her, even before they were married. He had constantly put her down, belittling her intelligence and her abilities. You really can't do anything right, he said, his voice laced with contempt. You're bad at cooking, you can't clean, and you can't even have kids. Marrying you was a huge mistake. It wasn't a physical issue. That stopped Erica from having children. It was the stress caused by Nathan. Her family always valued being careful with money and appreciating what they had, but Nathan had constantly criticized her for being frugal. He had once thrown radish leaves she had used to save money in the garbage, yelling, "Are you trying to feed me trash?" It was a stark reminder of how different they were. One day he told her he had a lover, a woman much younger than he was. He pushed for a divorce, saying it was better for him to remarry a younger woman. Erica was relieved to be rid of such a man and signed the divorce papers without hesitation. "Who is this man, Erica?" her husband asked, his voice laced with concern. "He's my ex-husband, Nathan Spencer," she replied, her voice trembling. "Oh, I see," he said, his gaze unwavering. Erica had already told her husband everything Nathan had said and done to her. It had been a painful 13 years, and she had shared it all with tears. Her husband had listened quietly, offering comfort and understanding. Finally, he had said, "Let's be happy from now on." "You really dared to marry a woman like her?" Nathan sneered, his eyes narrowed. "Since you're marrying someone from a poor family, you must be broke too." "Well, maybe not," Erica's husband replied, his voice calm and steady. "Of course you are," Nathan said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "So you're also a broke man who? Marrying a poor person means you're broke too, am I right?" "But why did you divorce such a wonderful person?" he asked, his voice laced with mock concern. "Wonderful?" Erica's husband scoffed. "Your eyes must be fooling you. Truly wonderful means having a beautiful wife like mine." He pointed to his wife, who stood there looking embarrassed. "Is that woman your wife?" Nathan asked, his voice laced with disbelief. "Yes," her husband said, his voice firm. "She's beautiful, isn't she? She's actually my boss's daughter." "Marrying the boss's daughter definitely helps one climb the career ladder faster," Nathan said, his voice dripping with envy. "Marrying a broke woman like you probably means you're just a regular employee too." "A regular employee?" Erica's husband chuckled. "I haven't heard that in years." "What are you trying to prove?" Nathan asked, his voice laced with anger. "A low-class guy marrying a low-class woman. It just means you'll both be broke for the rest of your lives. And you think you deserve to eat in a fancy restaurant like this?" "This level of restaurant isn't a problem for us," Erica's husband replied calmly. "Yeah, sure, if that's what you think," Nathan scoffed. Just then a waiter passed by and Erica's husband pulled out a black card, instructing him to settle the bill. Nathan was surprised by the card, but he tried to hide it, snorting again. "Is that a black card?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Showing off a card like that here, you're not used to it, are you? You must have borrowed it from someone, flashing it around, but later you'll have to pay back the person who lent it to you, right? I bet you're scared to spend money in a place like this. It's all just an act." "Funny thing to say," Erica's husband replied, his voice calm and steady. "Who would lend their card, I wonder? No matter how naive someone is, they wouldn't lend out a card like this." "How would you know that?" Nathan asked, his voice laced with anger. "You shouldn't say such insulting things." "What's insulting?" Nathan asked, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I'm just stating the truth. There's no way you could be well healthy if you married a poor woman like her." "My wife is poor, you say?" Erica's husband asked, his voice laced with amusement. "Yes, that's right. Her family's place is a rundown, one-floor home. You know that, right? Or maybe you were too embarrassed to visit her home, so you went to a family restaurant instead." Meeting her parents at a family restaurant for a marriage proposal is unheard of, but for poor people like you, it's probably normal. "A family restaurant, huh?" Nathan said, his voice laced with disdain. "The fact that you thought of that means you must have done it yourself, right? If you hadn't experienced it, you wouldn't have thought of it." "What are you talking about?" Erica's husband asked, his voice calm and steady. "I'm not short on money. I wouldn't do something so cheap." "Yet you came up with it," Nathan said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "I never would have thought of that." "Then turn to me, right, Erica?" Erica's husband asked. "What about you?" "Well, I think I'd like to go to a family restaurant occasionally, but we rarely get the chance," Erica replied, her voice soft. "Exactly," Nathan said, his voice laced with malice. "You're lying. When you were with me, you were happy to go to family restaurants. That's because I had never really been to one before. Oh, I bet you sure talk big now, coming to a fancy restaurant like this, acting all important. Maybe that's you. It seems like you don't fit in this kind of place. What, you think I don't fit in here? Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. There's no way I'm out of place. You're the one who doesn't belong here. Do you even know who I am? Why would I know you? Nathan asked, his voice laced with arrogance. If you want me to remember you, just become famous. I am well known, Erica's husband said, his voice laced with amusement. But I guess it's impossible for someone like you to know me. You think I'm just a regular employee. I'm a manager, not just an employee. A manager, huh? Nathan said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Is that supposed to be impressive? Just then the chauffeur arrived, greeting Erica's husband politely. Sir, your car is ready. Thank you, Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. Nathan looked confused. What's going on? Oh, you're probably just the president of some small company, Nathan said, trying to downplay Erica's husband's position. I work for a major corporation, the Brook Group, and I'm a manager there, Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. Oh, so you're still just a manager? Nathan said, his voice laced with disdain. Excuse me, you think you're important, but staying as a manager at your age won't get you far. What, this man works at our company? Erica's husband said, his voice laced with amusement. Yes, he's been with us for a long time. What do you mean, our company? Nathan asked, his voice laced with confusion. You're just an office lady from a small business. That's right, Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. But I don't have kids or any reason to quit my job, so you can't have kids. I knew it. Something's wrong with you. Hey, that's crossing the line, Erica's husband said, his voice laced with anger. Erica is perfectly fine. If she's fine, why can't she get pregnant? Nathan asked, his voice dripping with malice. Women are supposed to have kids. I don't need to explain that to you. You can't say it because it would prove something's wrong with her. This man is hopeless. Yes, he's beyond saving, Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. This man's name is Nathan Spencer, right? I understand. He's fired. Erica, please contact HR. What are you saying? Nathan asked, his voice laced with disbelief. You think you can shock me with that? What company's president are you claiming to be? Are you trying to fool me with this obvious act? Are you stupid? Nathan, Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. I am the president of the Brook Group. What? Nathan exclaimed, his voice laced with disbelief. That can't be true. The driver nodded with a look of pity. Seriously, is he really our president? Yes, Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. And I am his wife and the vice president of our company. That's ridiculous, Nathan stammered. How could Erica, from a poor family, end up as vice president with just a high school diploma? Those things don't matter. Whether someone graduated from high school or college doesn't determine their worth. That's ridiculous. I will never forgive anyone who insults my wife, Erica's husband said firmly. But there's a union. The union will protect us employees. You're a manager, right? Managers are not union members, so you are not protected by the union. Didn't you know that? Seriously? Well, you better prepare yourself. Since you insulted my wife, you must face the consequences. Nathan looked stunned, but Erica's husband didn't care. He asked Erica if they should go. They left the table, both shaken by the encounter. That night, Nathan called Erica, his voice a stark contrast to his earlier arrogance. Erica, it's been a while, he said, his voice laced with a mixture of desperation and regret. What do you mean? We already talked this afternoon, Erica replied, her voice cold. Ah yes, Nathan said, his voice faltering. What can I do for you? Your dismissal hasn't been processed yet. You guys were just joking, right? About you being the vice president and your husband being the president. No, it's all true, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. I'm surprised you don't know who your own company's president and vice president are. But why would you be the vice president? Nathan asked, his voice laced with disbelief. Because the best way I can support my husband is by being in that position. But it's strange, Nathan said, his voice laced with confusion. Why would a high school graduate be the vice president? It's not strange at all, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. I'd only graduated high school because I wanted to start working early. But after we separated, I earned a college degree. Huh, really? Nathan said, his voice laced with disbelief. Yes, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. There are schools you can attend from home. So you really are the president's wife? Nathan asked, his voice laced with disbelief. Yes, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. How did you manage to marry the president? Nathan asked, his voice laced with curiosity. When did you get married? We got married after I divorced you, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. I met the president soon after, and we dated for about 5 years before getting married. Married? Nathan said, his voice laced with disbelief. Why would the president take an interest in someone like you? Stop being so rude, Erica said, her voice laced with anger. Oh, sorry, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of embarrassment and defensiveness. Connections are strange, aren't they? I just happened to meet the president. But even so, why would he marry someone broke like you? Nathan asked, his voice laced with suspicion. Is he a philanthropist? No one marries for charity. If he's not a philanthropist, did he marry you to make you his slave? Nathan asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Maybe today you got lucky and got taken to a fancy restaurant, but usually you must be having plain meals and living a difficult life where you can't even buy what you like, right? Why would you think that? Erica said, her voice laced with anger. That's not true at all. You're the only one who would do such a thing. There's no way you could marry such a rich man. Why do you think so? Nathan asked, his voice laced with arrogance. Rich people have connections with politicians and other wealthy people. If a poorly raised woman like you shows up at their parties, it would embarrass the president. Or maybe he lets his mistress attend those instead. You're making wild assumptions. If you keep looking down on me like this, you'll truly regret it. I'm just concerned for you, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of concern and condescension. A woman with a poor upbringing like you, marrying a rich man like the president will only suffer. A regular employee's husband would suit you better. Marrying someone richer than me, you must be a foolish woman who can't see ahead. Who's the fool here? Erica asked, her voice laced with anger. If you called just to say that, I'm hanging up. No, wait, Nathan said, his voice laced with desperation. I'm not trying to insult you. It's just true that you come from poverty, and that can't be helped. Thinking I'm looking down on you for that is completely wrong. You say I come from a poor family, but my father is wealthy, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. Your family is poorer than mine. I didn't mention it back then because of your pride, but your family home isn't even half the size of mine. Your father is just a department head, and you're still just a manager. That's not true, Nathan said, his voice laced with defensiveness. When I proposed to you, you were living in a small, single-story house. That was because we were renovating our home at the time, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. We had stored all our belongings elsewhere, and it was just a temporary residence. There was no need to move to a big house. My mother said so. That can't be true, Nathan said, his voice laced with disbelief. You don't have to believe it, but since the renovation is finished, even if you say you want to visit my parents' home, you've stubbornly refused to go again. I couldn't tell you the truth, Erica said, her voice laced with a hint of sadness. Who would want to visit such a poor, run-down house? You really are hopeless, Nathan said, his voice laced with disdain. Then I'll send you a picture, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. This is my family home. You'll see from the picture. Erica sent a photo of a large mansion. That's my house, she said, her voice calm and steady. I lived there for a while after our divorce. What? Nathan exclaimed, his voice laced with disbelief. That can't be true. It's true, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. If this is true, then why were you working as an office lady in a small company? Nathan asked, his voice laced with confusion. If you're so rich, you wouldn't need to work. And if you did work, wouldn't it be at a large corporation? My father is the president of a major company, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. That company was a new one. He started it when it was time to decide who would be the president. My brother was chosen for the role, so I volunteered to handle the administrative work. Now that company has grown to the top of the industry. Is that true? Nathan asked, his voice laced with disbelief. Were you really so rich? Yes, this is the truth, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. This is the real me, the person you used to look down on. So that's why you could marry the president, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of shock and resentment. That's not it, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. I met the president because we shared the same hobbies. We met through our interests and hit it off. He didn't know I was from a wealthy family, and I didn't know he was the president. So you're at the company where I work because of that? Nathan asked, his voice laced with suspicion. How long have you been at that company? I joined right after our divorce, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. I had a connection by chance. Why? Nathan asked, his voice laced with confusion. When you were with me, you were just a clerk at your brother's company. After we divorced, you changed jobs. That's right, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. My brother's company grew a lot, and he told me it was time to do what I love, so I decided to pursue what I always wanted to do. Then, just as a senior position became vacant, they offered me the job. But at that stage, I still had no connection with the president. He was still someone high up, out of reach. I don't understand, Nathan said, his voice laced with confusion. How can you have connections like that? Do rich people just connect with other rich people? That's why I'm saying those things don't matter, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. It's your mindset that's holding you back. As just a manager, I wonder why your wife hasn't gotten tired of you yet. She can't get tired of me, Nathan said, his voice laced with arrogance. I'm supporting her. Keep up with that attitude and you'll get what's coming to you, Erica said, her voice laced with a hint of warning. Anyway, that's the situation, so stop belittling me already. I wasn't trying to belittle you, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of regret and desperation. I really thought you were poor. About that dismissal you mentioned this afternoon, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. Oh yes, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of desperation and fear. Your dismissal. After all the mocking you did, it's only natural you'd be fired. That would put me in a tough spot. Can you talk to the president so I don't get fired? What, you were just mocking me a lot, and now you're asking not to be dismissed? Erica asked, her voice laced with amusement. That's impossible. You know I have nothing but resentment towards you. Why? Nathan asked, his voice laced with confusion. The fact that you don't think you're resented is truly surprising. What have I done to you? Nathan asked, his voice laced with a mixture of desperation and fear. There's too much to even remember. It's that much. I bet your wife thinks the same as me. Why don't you ask her what she really thinks? Though I doubt she'll tell you. I only said those things because I thought you were poor, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of regret and desperation. Why do you think I'm mocking you when I'm just being honest? Once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. You should understand that as an adult. I do understand that, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. Then you should understand why you're being dismissed, right? No, I don't understand at all, Nathan said, his voice laced with desperation. Please, I'll be in trouble if I'm fired. If it were just about this afternoon, the president might have overlooked it. But then you had to call and ask all these questions. My husband is here now, frowning. He really thinks you're hopeless. Maybe you should just give up. There's no saving you. No, if the president is right there, why can't you just say something? Nathan asked, his voice laced with desperation. It's only natural for a husband and wife to be together. Besides, you didn't ask if someone was with me, did you? That's true, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. But you've made things worse for yourself. You mocked not just me, but my parents and my husband too. Look, I didn't think you'd get this angry, Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of regret and desperation. Please forgive me. If I had known you were wealthy, I wouldn't have said such mocking things. I won't say them again. Please forgive me. Just give up, Erica said, her voice calm and steady. I think your dismissal order will come down tomorrow. Wait, please, Nathan's voice echoed on the other end of the phone, but Erica hung up. She looked at her husband, her heart filled with a mixture of relief and vindication. The next day, Nathan came to the president's office, looking pale and drawn, with dark circles under his eyes. He seemed to be in really bad shape. Erica was in a meeting with her husband, the president, discussing business matters, but she was shocked by Nathan's appearance. Nathan, what's wrong? Erica asked, her voice laced with concern. I'm very sorry, Nathan apologized, his voice trembling. He sat down, his body slumped with defeat. Nathan, what are you doing? Erica asked, her voice laced with confusion. Please, please, just don't fire me, Nathan pleaded, his voice filled with desperation. What do you mean? Erica's husband asked, his voice calm and steady. The president knew about the conversation from the previous day. He had guessed from Erica's responses during the call, and she had told him everything Nathan had said after hanging up. As a result, his impression of Nathan was very poor, and his anger was even greater than Erica's. "I am truly sorry," Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of regret and desperation. "I didn't know your wife was from a wealthy family. I think she is a perfect match for the president's wife. I also heard she graduated from university, even if it was through correspondence. She's a hard worker, unlike my own wife. So you decided she wasn't good enough for you and got rid of her, right?" Erica's husband asked, his voice laced with a mixture of amusement and disgust. Nathan looked up at the president, wondering how he knew such a thing. "Of course I've told my husband everything," Erica said, her voice calm and steady. "We're married, after all. Or do you and your wife not talk about your pasts?" "No, it's not like that," Nathan said, his voice laced with a mixture of embarrassment and defensiveness. "But that was a long time ago. I was young then. I thought Erica was just a poor man's daughter, so I thought it was okay to have a mistress." "How does it come to that?" Erica's husband asked, his voice laced with disgust. "Is that why you think it's okay to commit sexual harassment or abuse your power?" "What do you mean?" Nathan asked, his voice laced with a mixture of confusion and fear. "Don't tell me you haven't done it. There are complaints from your female co-workers. They say if our company doesn't handle it, they'll go to the police. Our company was just discussing what to do about it when your disrespectful remarks came yesterday. It's really hopeless, isn't it?" "That's right," Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. "I wouldn't have thought you were actually harassing or bullying, but after seeing you yesterday, it seems all too true. You don't even see women as people, do you? You think they're below you." "No, I never," Nathan said, his voice laced with desperation. "Even if that were true, firing me would be too harsh. Please show some mercy. Well, you do have a family. If you were fired, you wouldn't be the only one in trouble." "That's right," Erica's husband said, his voice calm and steady. "Exactly." He smirked and looked at Erica. "So what do you think, Erica? How about sending Nathan to our Michigan branch?" "What?" Erica asked, her voice laced with surprise. "The Michigan branch is in a region with very few people and is practically unsustainable as a company," Erica's husband explained. "The former president, who came from that town, established the branch there to help the local people. But it's a lonely place with just one employee. The previous employee reportedly went mad from the loneliness. We want you to turn that branch around in 5 years. If you can do that, we'll bring you back here. Of course, if you can't, you'll spend your retirement in Michigan." "Thank you, I appreciate it," Nathan said, thinking it was an act of mercy from the president. He set off for the Michigan branch, but both Erica's husband and she knew it was an impossible task. Working alone for a small number of town residents, it was clear there wouldn't be any profit to be made. Nathan moved to the branch, all motivated, taking his mistress, who had become his wife, with him. But she soon grew unhappy with the cold and isolation, and eventually she reached her limit. Nathan's salary dropped significantly, and despite being called the branch manager, his pay was minimal. This led to daily arguments with his wife. Although he boasted that if he turned things around in 5 years, he could return to the head office, his city-bred wife didn't believe him. She left divorce papers behind and went back to the city. Nathan tried his best for a year, but no matter how hard he worked, the population didn't grow, and no profits came. Eventually, he realized that no effort would change anything. In 2 days, he submitted his resignation after leaving the company. Nathan contacted his wife, but by then she had found someone new. Not only was he ignored by her, but he was also beaten up by her new partner and ended up in the hospital. After being discharged, Nathan looked for a job, but at his age, he found nothing. Life became harder for him. He ended up living in a shabby, run-down apartment, and the only job he could find was as a nighttime store clerk. The man who had once boasted of graduating from a prestigious university now stood alone in a store at night. As for Erica, she continued to be cared for by her kind husband, enjoying another wonderful date this month. Marrying him had changed her life so much, and she was grateful that Nathan and she had divorced. She had found her second chance at love, and she was determined to cherish it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe for more awesome stories like this. Stay blessed and healthy. Thank you for watching and see you in the next story. Bye.